The YouTube spirits do not want me to be doing this video. And I don't know why. I had a subscriber who asked to help with the sky. And she was doing okay, so I'm not so worried about getting it to her really quickly. She knew what she was doing, and it was just a couple of color choices, and the picture was boring. I went back and forth with her, and I talked about it, but I said to her, why don't I do a desert sky for you? And I'll do a video, and I'll show you how to add the colors and what colors to add. I got really sick, and that's where I've been for the last week and a half. It was so congested. It was just one of those things. I caught it from my daughter who had it from her work. She came over, and then next thing I knew, I had it. So right after that, I couldn't even help her because I couldn't even speak. Like my it sounded like I had laryngitis. And I still do. Sorry. Before I got sick, I managed to get some things done and figuring out some tips and stuff. And when I went back to look, to edit the video, I sounded like I was in an echo chamber. And I don't know why. It might have just been that I've taken so much stuff out of my craft room and I was filming in my craft room that it sounds like horrible. And I'm not even sure. It might be this room that's sounding horrible. I have to figure out my acoustics. So right there, I'm sorry. I sound like it's terrible. And I was going to redo it. So I started doing the picture part of it. And I was going to do a desert sky. Now, a desert sky is like any other sky. It takes a long time to develop. So I was working on this picture. It was about 4 or 5 hours at least. It doesn't look like much when you first start out. It looks really good at the end when you get... That's my dog snorting. Go ahead. Get it out. They just don't want me to do this video. So it doesn't really look like anything at the beginning, and that's where I was up to. But I was finally getting to the point where it was just starting to look like a desert sky. And I had a foster daughter. I'm very close with her. My family is very close with her. She's no longer, of course, a foster child. She's all grown up, and she's got a son of her own. And she was over today, and she was doing her laundry here. But his son wasn't feeling that good. And when he was not feeling good, I gave him a bath. She was doing her laundry. The mother was doing the laundry. I was playing with him, and he was sitting up here, and he asked me for something to drink. And he's only 3, but he's like a mature 3. And he usually doesn't get into any trouble. Like, he's not like a toddler 3. He's almost 4. So you can leave him in a room for 2 minutes to go downstairs to get a drink. And when I came up, he was sitting in the chair, and you will see, helping me with my picture. And he's so darn cute. I can't even get mad at him because he's so cute. And he kept telling, before I went downstairs, he kept telling me that I had to do the mountains. And I kept trying to tell him, no, I'm not doing the mountains yet. I'm doing the mountains later. But he was insisting I needed to have the mountains done. So when I went downstairs, he sat down at my desk and he helped. He did the mountains. So much for my picture, and I'm not redoing it. I want to move on to something else. This video has been the bane of my existence. So, I think I'm done with that picture for today. I think I'm done with the picture today. Yes. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Whose picture was that?
Yours.
You helped me?
No.
You didn't help me?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Dog's so cute.
My dog is so cute.
Yes.
So are you.
Huh?
You're cute.
I'm not a dog.
But you're cute.
I'm not a dog.
I didn't say you were a dog. I just said you were cute.
I'm not cute.
You're not cute.
No.
That's another blue.
What?
That's another blue pencil.
Oh.
The mountains have to be blue? Tip number 1. When coloring in the sky and using colored pencils, remember the sun is not a sphere. 99% of the time, I'm going to tell you to create things that are three-dimensional, and I give you tricks and tips on how to make things three-dimensional, except for the sun. And the reason behind this, and it's going to make total sense to you, you're creating that sphere. You're bouncing the light source off of the object. We're talking about the sun. And there's nothing bouncing light off of the sun. The sun bounces light onto everything else. So when you look at the sun, it's not in a sphere shape. It's usually flat. I would say just about all the time, unless you have some sort of really freaky camera set up, you're never going to have hard lines going around the outside of the sun. Tip number 2. I've seen this done a lot, and even at the beginning, I made the same mistake. You want to make light beams. So what do? You do this beautiful sky, and you want these white lights coming off of the sun to make it look like sunbeams. So you get out your white pencil, and you go to it, and you make these lines coming off the sun. They're never going to look like anything but lines. What you need to do is vary your color gradient to create what looks like the line. So if you take a look at the photo that I used, and you really look closely at it, look at the blue. The blue is actually not white on top of blue. Remember, with art, draw what you see, not what you think you see. So you have to kind of play tricks with your mind. Those beams are just changes in the tone value. Tip number 3, use a limited color palette. That means pick out several pencils that come close to the colors that you think you're going to be using. Make sure that their undertones are compatible, and then change up the tones. So if you're using an orange, you choose an orange, and you create other values with the yellow pencil. You do the same thing with the blues. As long as your undertones are matched, be very careful about getting your oranges and your blues mixed together. Tip number 4, there are no hard lines in the sky. Now, I mentioned this before. You can't take a picture of the sun unless you have a really, really good camera, or you're going to burn your lens. The edges are always going to be blurred. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your pictures, that your edges are never going to be in clouds nor in anything coming off the sun. It's never going to be hard or an abrupt change. It's always going to be a gradual, softer change. Tip number 5, vary your light. Remember, the sun is going to be bouncing off of clouds that are up there in the atmosphere. The light is going to hit different in different areas, so put in an unexpected beam of light. It doesn't have to follow a linear pattern, and really, actually, it shouldn't. Tip number 6, when you're reflecting the sun off water, remember to use the colors in the exact same order, or the reflection is not going to work out. Now, tip number 7 is the best tip that I can give you for the sun, the sky, clouds. Use a workable fixative when you get it right. Sometimes it takes a while for a shape of a cloud or a blurring of the sun to get perfect, but you're going to hit that spot. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same timing as everything else on your page. Use a workable fixative to hold that color in place. This way, when you're working on objects around it, make sure it's a workable fixative and not a sealant. You're not going to blend into it. It will hold that color and that shape with the fixative.